Injuries? What injuries? Bayern Munich take care of business against Lazio, a real commanding victory against the Italian side. And Chelsea, thanks to a great goal from the beautiful man that is Olivier Giroud, makes it 1-0 against Atletico Madrid. We have Jonathan Johnson and Jimmy Conrad to recap Tuesday's Champions League action. Stay right here because Qué Golazo begins right now. Hey, welcome everybody to Qué Golazo, our Tuesday recap. We have Jimmy Conrad and Jonathan Johnson as we discuss both games here. Well, first of all, Jimmy, how are you, bud?
I'm good. I am excited to break these games down because I was pleasantly surprised by some of the performances and disappointed in some others, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. JJ, how are you, my friend?
Very well, thanks. Glad to be back with both of you.
Yep, and that's it, really. Let's get let's get into it. Hey, Jimmy, let's begin with Bayern Munich, the defending champion, against Lazio. They routed Lazio 4-1. I don't know what to say aside from the fact that Bayern were very good, Lazio were not. Talk to me about this game.
I was disappointed in Lazio. If you guys haven't seen the goals, I don't know what youth league you played in as a kid. I played in AYSO. I've seen better defending in AYSO rec league than what I saw from Lazio today. Just I don't understand. I just don't understand where you could get this malaise and just this lack of urgency. I thought it was going to be the opposite. I thought that Bayern Munich were going to come in and have this malaise because they've accomplished so many things. They got nothing left to prove. All my bets reflected that. And it was actually the opposite. Lazio came out, were flat-footed, made a mistake that gave Bayern a ton of confidence. Lewandowski pounced. And if you give a team like Bayern Munich half chances because of your mistakes, they punish you every single time. And that's what makes them the best club in the world, in my humble opinion. Maybe Man City's the currently the hottest one, but when push comes to shove in a game that's a one-off, I would take Bayern over Man City because of this ability to finish half chances. Lazio now have no chance. 4 away goals for Bayern Munich. Get out of here, you know? And I was just disappointed in Lazio all the way through. And that's a bit of a shame because they have some talented players.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, happy to say that I was right, but I'm not going to
That's always nice to say. Let's just be honest.
I'm so happy, but I'm not completely happy because I honestly, I thought it was going to be a win for Bayern Munich, as many did, but I didn't think it was going to be this overwhelming. And I did definitely not expect this terrible performance from Lazio, if we're being quite honest, Jonathan Johnson. I think the first goal, the defensive mistake that allowed Robert Lewandowski to score first, just basically set the scene. See, Jimmy's so upset at this. He's just eating his oatmeal right here because he wants to really nutrify himself. He can't even hear us. But Jonathan Johnson, talk to me about this game. I was really disappointed with Lazio.
Yeah, hugely disappointing. I think looking at the game at the beginning, I was expecting Lazio to come out, be very motivated, and to make a mistake as early as they did. I mean, it wasn't even the first error either because, there was a good ball pinged across the face of the goal by Kimmich quite early on. Lewandowski quite uncharacteristically failing to connect with it. And that really should have been the wake-up call that Lazio needed in order to get them into the game. And instead, they go and gift Lewandowski the chance a couple of minutes later, and Bayern were out of sight by half time. I mean, I have to give credit to Bayern for showing this much character, showing this much hunger. I mean, we heard Lewandowski speaking exclusively to CBS before the match, about how Bayern would be focusing on themselves and not what other teams are doing in the future to try and turn their form around. And it seems like that's exactly what they did. I think Hansi Flick managed the game really intelligently. You look at his bench, he only had 6 substitutes there. Compared to Simone Inzaghi, he managed his players very well, brought Goretzka off after an hour when he's only just come back from COVID-19, and putting Jamal Musiala in from the start, absolute masterstroke, came off very well, took his goal excellently, showed great maturity. He's only going to be 18 in a couple of days' time. To be honest, I did expect Bayern to win this game. I just thought it would be a lot tighter than this. And to be quite honest, I thought Lazio were fortunate to even come away with a consolation goal in this performance.
Yeah, very quickly before I go to Jimmy, JJ, because you have the player ratings on the website. Who really stood out for you that was just terrible?
Terrible. Well, it wasn't me who was covering Lazio, thankfully. But from a Bayern point of view, I don't think there were too many poor performances. It's just a very solid, but yet unspectacular Bayern showing. I don't really feel that they ever got into top gear. They didn't need to yet, and they still won comfortably. So for me, I'd say Musiala was the pick of the bunch, considering he performed with such great maturity for somebody so young. But I do think that the pace from Koeman and Sane, really gave Lazio a lot of problems, and Goretzka as well to come in and play the way that he has done after being out for the last couple of weeks. That was also quite impressive.
Yeah, Jimmy, let's go to you here. Just to Jonathan Johnson's point, there is more from Bayern, especially all the injuries that came with it as well. But I'm very disappointed at Lazio. I really thought that they would have a much more compact plan, and it just wasn't to be at all. I mean, they got that one goal in the second half, whoop-de-doo. It didn't show me anything. And I did say Leroy Sané was going to be a problem, and he was.
He was.
Go ahead.
So go ahead,
hear
JJ.
from you guys is if you feel that the penalty shout that Lazio had 1-0 down would have changed anything, because they had that penalty shout, then Bayern go up the other end and score.
Jimmy, go ahead.
No, I think that for sure would have changed something. I think they got down on themselves. I'm sure there was an emphasis on let's just not let Bayern score first, and they gave up a really cheap goal, a bad back pass that led to that one. Had they gotten that back and got their confidence back and said, okay, fine, we made a mistake, we got one back on a penalty, then yes, I think there would have been something different. Though, to your point, JJ, overall, given how well Bayern was playing and how unsure of themselves Lazio were just in general, I think Bayern probably still would have won the game, but it would have been a lot closer and given them more of a chance in the second leg. I'm also pissed from a betting perspective because I said Ciro the hero to score anytime, and he takes all the penalties for Lazio. So yeah, I'm a little bitter in a lot of different ways. But yeah, that would have changed a lot of things. To Luis's point, though, the back three and Lucas Leiva, the captain, number 6, who protects that back three, just an incredibly bad performance by everybody, even their wing backs. Like everybody that had the responsibility of playing some D just got absolutely just look bad. Either bad back passes, lack of energy, not seeing plays through, being lazy defending, and they got punished. And like I said, you give half chances, don't see things through against a team like Bayern Munich, you're dead. And they were dead. 4-1, it's over.
Yeah, and listen, the bet going against Ciro Immobile, you can't do anything about that. It's going against nature. You knew Ciro Immobile has every right to score in this situation.
I know.
It just didn't happen.
No, I mean, if I'd gone heavy on Bayern stuff, there's just not a lot of value there. You have to get really deep in the exotics to make some money on Bayern Munich. And I thought, I don't know. I just thought Lazio were going to do something today. So
yeah, you got to gamble to win, baby. That's the way to do it. Any final thoughts from this game, Jonathan Johnson, and then I'll go to Jimmy before we move on.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the other things that struck me watching this Lazio side is I think they struggled so much against Bayern, because you look at some of the key members of that side and they're getting on now. That they're really old. You've got Reina in goal, Leiva, even Ciro the hero is getting on. He's in his early 30s. I mean, okay, he's probably still got a couple of years left at the top, but some of the other guys in that team, they're in their twilight years, and it's difficult to really see what more they can give this Lazio side, because there are some very good elements to it, but unfortunately those good elements are the ones currently always being linked with moves away.
Yeah. Jimmy, concluding this game?
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to Hansi Flick, the manager of Bayern. They looked, I don't know, washed, I think is the word the kids like to use today. They just looked a little washed, looked a little bit tired, and they had Eric Choupo-Moting starting as the number 10 in their last 2 matches. Only got a draw out of those 2 matches, so they dropped some points there, giving RB Leipzig a little glimmer of hope there in the Bundesliga, even though we all know it's not going to happen. But him putting in the 17-year-old Musiala, who ended up scoring, for me is a stroke of genius. Going to give that player a lot of confidence, as well as building that rapport and trust with all these experienced players around him. So that's a good sign for Bayern as they start to blood new players. And what Lazio isn't doing, to JJ's point, right? Where are the younger players for Lazio that are going to kind of help take over that responsibility as these older players transition on? And we already seen Bayern do it. So it's always nice to be a Bayern Munich fan. And again, we can feel the same way today.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's a good sign, by the way, echoing something that I mentioned earlier today, which is, listen, the thing about Bayern and Hansi Flick's biggest task, which is to your point, Jimmy Conrad, about sort of rotating a little bit, is that, when you have such an amazing year in 2020, right? Bundesliga, the Cup, Champions League, you end it with the Club World Cup. what do you do? Like once you reach the mountaintop, you got to stay there. You got to find another height. You got to elevate yourself. It's difficult. It's not easy because you're trying to keep motivation with all these players. Obviously, they're professionals and they're going to try their best. But in terms of objectives, like what do you do? I mean, you've said it before, right? What do you do after you reached everything? And I think that when you bring in these young players and other players that perhaps are not always seen, it helps when they add to the fact that not only are they winning, but they're winning in the Champions League away from home, and with a really good result to take back home in the second leg. It's a good result all around for Bayern Munich and one to ponder for Lazio. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about the other game where, man, Jimmy, you mentioned at the beginning you're disappointed with some. Atletico Madrid really pissed me off today. Everything that I said didn't happen. I thought that, listen, it's 2 legs. Like, why are you sitting? Like, just go all out. Just go all out. There's no, I don't understand. They were sitting a lot, but give a lot of credit to Chelsea, of course. They win 1-0. Olivier Giroud were a great finish. It was double checked by VAR. They take that to the bank and they'll take it to Stamford Bridge. It's a very good result for them. Atletico Madrid, very passive, which is everything that I didn't think were going to be. I mean, there were signs, but definitely in the first half, I didn't think they did enough. But Jimmy, give me your thoughts on this one as Chelsea win 1-0. Another good result for Thomas Tuchel and his Chelsea side.
Well, I remember JJ said in the preview that Thomas Tuchel is very good at designing tactics for one-off games.
Yeah, JJ killed it on this one.
That stuck with me, and I think that's a big reason why PSG got to the Champions League final last season. They weren't 2-legged affairs; they were one leg, and I thought he had a masterclass in particular in the Champions League semifinal against RB Leipzig, and all the hype around Julian Nagelsmann, and Tuchel's like, "Sit down, little boy. These are what tactics really look like," and they won 3-0, and it wasn't even close. So I think we saw a little bit. Tuchel didn't put the hand in the face to Diego Simeone this time around, but he did do some things that I thought really frustrated Atleti. Atleti didn't have any shots on goal. They were averaging 10 shots a game in La Liga, and they should just be able to generate a little bit more, especially against the back line that we thought they could get at. We talk about older players. Lazio, I think, have just as old defenders as Chelsea, and they couldn't do anything about it. And I really think they did a good job on suffocating the spaces for Joao Felix and Angel Correa to find. And there's really no link-up play. I thought those 2 players in particular, we talked them up, we hyped them up. They're obviously super talented, just couldn't find those gaps to explore and to maybe try things, to be creative. And that's to Chelsea's credit. And I thought that not starting N'Golo Kante was a risk because he's a little bit more physical, and Atleti's very physical. But Jorginho actually was another masterstroke from Tuchel, and he did what he needed to do. He got a result. Olivier Giroud scores a great goal, finds himself in a good spot. We talked about how much value he would bring. He loves scoring against Spanish teams for whatever reason, specifically in this Champions League. And fair play to Chelsea. I mean, it wasn't pretty, and I kind of want all 90 minutes of my life back watching that game. But it's a great result for the Blues.
Yeah, they got to win. And listen, Jonathan Johnson, you deserve your props right here because Jimmy's right. Listen, one of the major things that happened was exactly what you said. Thomas Tuchel is very good at analyzing a game-by-game basis, especially in a 2-legger, especially in a knockout situation. Yes, PSG is a machine and a good squad, but he got them to the final. And tactically, he got this spot on, as Jimmy said. So what are your thoughts on this one? Anything that stood out as Chelsea wins 1-0 against Atleti?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm delighted that it sort of panned out the way that I predicted that it would. I mean, I just had a good feeling that Tuchel in such a short space of time would have really concentrated on that match, especially as he's still in this phase of trying to work out exactly what is his strongest starting 11. And I think the thing that I found the most interesting about this, I mean, kind of to Jimmy's point, where Atletico didn't have any shots on target over the whole match, Chelsea still managed to have 2. The setup that Tuchel had put in place there was that Chelsea would be more clinical, that they would make the most of those opportunities that they had when they came their way. Obviously, it took a moment of magic from Giroud and, a big slice of luck with VAR, because we all know how much of a lottery that can be. But it paid off. They get the result, and now they go back for the second leg with a lead to defend. I'm curious now to see how Tuchel sets his team up for this second leg, because he's often better when the team are chasing the game, or they're considered underdogs in some way. So now that they're considered favorites to advance, because nobody's going to be expecting Atletico, to be able to take the game to them and outscore them, we'll have to wait and see how it unfolds. But yeah, very much so disappointed by this Atletico side, like you guys. It kind of just feels like the season's losing a little bit of momentum at the moment, given the domestic dip in form and now what's happened here in the Champions League. But very impressed by Thomas Tuchel and the way that he actually managed to pull off what I thought he would do. And now he's got a bit of time to work out or had to gain a better idea of what his strongest 11 will be before that return leg.
Yeah, very, very good stuff. All right, any final thoughts from this game, Jimmy, before I ask the final questions about the second leggers?
Christian Pulisic got to play 3 minutes, and he's got a fantastic beard, so I'm just excited about that.
Doesn't it look like, we talked about this, like he bought the beard somewhere?
It yeah, it does. It looks like it's been glued on just to make him look older than he really is.
Like he's trying to buy some cigarettes when you're like,
exactly.
All right, let me ask these final questions before we go. All right, it's obviously early, but it's why I ask it. Initial thoughts looking into the second leg. I think I know the answer for Lazio Bayern Munich, but it'll be more interesting with Atleti Chelsea. Who's going through after the second leg? Let's begin with you, Jimmy, Conrad, and Lazio and Bayern.
I think if Lazio score first, then at least that puts a little bit of pressure on Bayern. Bayern aren't going to relax by any stretch of the imagination. And then you think, all right, well, they can welcome Thomas Muller back into the team and Serge Gnabry will probably be back. And then I think now Lazio's got no chance. But if they can score first, that could put a little bit of seed of doubt into Bayern's mind, but they have too much experience. And I suspect that even if they get a draw in the second leg, that's more than enough to see them through.
Yeah. JJ?
Yeah, likewise, I can only see Bayern going through in this scenario. The one thing I would be curious to see is how Bayern handle the situation in the Bundesliga these next couple of weeks, because you'd expect them to now focus on that, kill out any possible threat of of their title hopes being dashed. But if they were to drop points again at some point between now and the second leg, that might change the way that Flick approaches the match, rotates his squad. And with a rotated team, if Lazio do score first, as Jimmy said, you never know what can happen, especially in this season of all seasons. It just seems like the unexpected is actually something that can feasibly happen. But in this particular case, I cannot see this Lazio side mounting a comeback. I think it's going to take sort of a remontada level of miracle for that to happen. Before we finish with the questions, and I know we've still got the Chelsea Atletico second leg to discuss, I was wondering what you guys make of the situation with Pulisic. I mean, Jimmy mentioned that he got a couple of minutes at the end. You've already got Thomas Tuchel, talking about him not being on for sale this summer. But in my experience, having seen Tuchel say that kind of thing about a player, it means that player is not necessarily at the forefront of his plans. Where do you guys sort of stand on Pulisic's future at Chelsea under Tuchel based on what we've seen so far?
Well, Jimmy, let's go with you.
Yeah, I'll state that I was nervous for Christian Pulisic when they started buying Ziyech and Havertz and Timo Werner. Frankly, I thought that he was doing enough and performing well enough that why would you want to go get depth in those areas and break the bank to sign players that are just like the ones you have, So they might have seen something that obviously we're not privy to see on a regular basis. Maybe they know that he's injury prone. Maybe they know that they can't count on him in a meaningful way. I don't know, but I feel like there's something there because they went out and spent a lot of money on those types of players, and they already had Mason Mount, who has some similarities to Pulisic as well. So that gave me some pause. And now with Tuchel coming in, I thought, oh, cool. They played, or they worked together at Borussia Dortmund. He's going to understand. And the fact that he understands Christian Pulisic, knows who he is, and now elects not to play him. Yeah, that makes me really concerned. And I think that Pulisic should be looking at different options at this point, honestly. I mean, you just get ahead of it. You want to get minutes as much as possible. You got big qualifiers and stuff for the national team as well. And he's going to need games to stay sharp for that type of stuff and play in a World Cup. So, yeah, I'm nervous for all you Christian Pulisic fans out there.
Yeah, and then not much more to add. The only thing I would say is that there is actually not that much of a history with Pulisic starting a lot with Tuchel, even at Borussia Dortmund. And the other part that I will say is that the formation speaks for itself. There is, like Jimmy, there is no place for him. There just isn't. His width comes from his wingbacks. Christian Pulisic is not a fullback. He's a winger, an inverted one at that likes to come inside. That's not really the Tuchel way. And even if Pulisic maybe features a little bit more century, just like Jimmy said, you have Mason Mount, Timo Werner, there's plenty of other options. And of course, he still has Hudson-Odoi to think about, Reece James as a fullback, and Ziyech we haven't even talked about. It's just the pecking order is just getting tougher for him. And I'm with him. I'm with Jimmy 100%. He needs to leave. Forget about Tuchel's decision to keep him. If I was Pulisic at the end of the season, I'd say, listen, boss, I need minutes. I need you to just take me out on loan and put me somewhere if you're not going to start me, because I need to really represent what I can do on the field. And that's not going to happen with Tuchel and this formation unless injuries happen. That's my 2 cents about it. Pulisic's best skills are when he's further out wide, inverting inside, and that's just not what Tuchel wants. All right, let me ask you now, back to Atleti Chelsea. Speaking of Chelsea, of course, same question as Bayern Munich and Lazio here. It's a little tougher because it's still just a 1-0 margin. But Tuchel has proved that he can, tactically outmaneuver Diego Simeone, at the very least for this one game. So, Jimmy, let me ask you first, what do you see happening in the second leg at Stamford Bridge?
Well, I think it's going to be harder because Thiago Silva will most likely be back in the team, and he's better than Christensen, even though I thought Christensen was good today, and he did the job and did what they needed to do, right? They were tough to play against. They closed the spaces down. I thought Azpilicueta was very good today in particular. He's been very good since Tuchel took over and gave him more responsibility. I'm actually looking more at Atleti, not surprisingly, since I have some love and admiration for them. The fact that they started with Saul and Koke in the middle of midfield, that's what they did against RB Leipzig in the Champions League when they got knocked out by the German club. It's just, anytime that happens, I don't know. You guys have your favorite teams, and JJ can speak to PSG. Like, oh, if you see this one lineup, you're like, oh, okay, great. We're not going to attack the same, or it's just like, okay, we're going with this formation. It's the same thing when I see Diego Simeone roll out Saul and Koke, who obviously are incredible servants for the club, but they really are limited in terms of going forward. And I really feel like they missed out on potentially putting Thomas Lemar in the middle, and he's been good since there, or Hector Herrera, or Yannick Carrasco, or anybody that will go forward a little bit. Carrasco was missing today. I think that was a big loss. And not having somebody else that's a little bit more box to box in the middle midfield, I thought really hurt them. Not Kieran Trippier, obviously, he provides some good width, gets forward, and I just think when those guys come back into the team, Atleti are going to be a little bit more dynamic, but then you still need Diego Simeone to elect to do that. And he just has, especially in Europe, he's very conservative and just tries to eke out these results, which is why I predicted a 1-0. I just predicted the wrong 1-0. And I think that's what needs to change from Atleti's perspective. And they're so good defensively, they shouldn't limit them too much, but they need more attacking prowess. And then I'd like to see what Thomas Tuchel does to counter that. But to JJ's point, he does struggle a little bit as being the favorite. So we'll see how Tuchel hopefully doesn't over tinker.
Well, give me a prediction. What do you think's going to happen?
I'll say 1-0 to Atleti, because I saw them do it at Anfield in the last Champions League. Like, just no way they can get a result at Anfield against Liverpool, and they did. So I think they're going to find a way to scrape through, and then an extra time, I don't know what the hell's going to happen, but I hope Atleti does it.
JJ, thoughts on that one?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm keen to see if Tuchel can now kill off the tie, because I'm pretty sure that's what he's going to try to do. We saw him choke out RB Leipzig in the group stage with PSG. It was a really drab 1-0 win, Neymar from a penalty, and then Leipzig through the kitchen sink at PSG, but just weren't able to get the breakthrough. And I'm wondering if it's going to be a similar approach to this match, just to ensure that Chelsea get through to the quarterfinals. It wouldn't surprise me to see Atletico score. Like you guys, I'm not expecting Simeone to suddenly get creative, and bring a bunch of invention out of nowhere. However, I think that I can see a repeat of my prediction for this match, which will be a 1-1 draw, and obviously that would be enough to see Chelsea through. But it wouldn't surprise me if it's Atleti, you take the lead, and then Chelsea, you have to find that equalizer. And if it does go to extra time, I still reckon that Chelsea will find that second goal in this tie.
Yeah, I'm just going to say this, which is what Jimmy mentioned a little bit about the injuries. Yannick Carrasco was a big absence today. So was Herrera. So was Kieran Trippier. And Trippier will not be part of the second leg, I believe. But Carrasco might. Herrera might. And I think that might help Atletico Madrid a little bit. I just focus, because the thing is, Llorente is Diego Simeone's Swiss Army knife. Like, he does so much for him. And unfortunately for now, he's been doing a lot defensively. But if he can offensively be more of a service, it's more of a problem. The only way that Atletico Madrid gets out of this is if they do a 180 and they go back to what they know they're good at, which is like in your face, selective pressing, be physical, and just try and be super direct with the counter. You just didn't see it enough today. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but if Simeone can 180 this and say, screw this, we're 1-0 down, let's go, all out, and then you get Yannick Carrasco back, you get Herrera back, you get a little bit more of that support in the middle, then maybe they can do something. I think that this is going to be, I'm with Jimmy again. I think it's going to be a 1-0 to Atleti. It'll go to extra time, but I'll even put my neck out even more. I'll say Atletico will take this. But, I could be wrong again because Thomas Tuchel has been so good in terms of figuring all these teams out. And I'm probably going to be eating all my words in about 2 weeks, but we will see what happens. All right, before we say goodbye, any final words on anything as we take a break until Wednesday and then there'll be a big break next week, but anything you want to talk about, even tomorrow, as we discuss these games. We've already had the preview out with James Bench and Jimmy, but JJ, let's begin with you. Anything that you want to say as we say goodbye?
Yeah, I mean, there are a bunch of fascinating games coming up. How does this injury hit Real Madrid? Deal with Atalanta. I mean, obviously they were the neutrals' favorites last season. They've become sort of a little less mainstream darlings this campaign because they've been a bit more inconsistent, but they can still pull it out of the bag on any given 90 minutes. And I think against a vulnerable Real side, I think that Atalanta will really fancy their chances and try to pull out one of their vintage performances of the season here. Gladbach against City, I'm just hoping it doesn't get too brutal for Gladbach. The other thing I would like to say, I mean, we've already talked about him, Musiala, about to turn 18. Flick was saying some interesting stuff in the build up to the match that something happened recently. There have been some talks going on, suggestions that it might relate to a new contract, but then also a hint that he's made a decision regarding his international future. Of course, he's eligible to play for England and Germany. So I'm going to be very keen to see if there has been a decision made on that international representation front, because he's going to be a massive coup for either of those national teams.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one to watch for sure. Jimmy, final words from you.
I just love the Champions League. I can't wait for more games. I'm sad we have to take 1 week break, even though we'll be doing podcasts. It just won't be around the Champions League until it gets kicking up again for leg 2. I just love this competition, and I love all the talking points, and I love seeing the best players in the world go after each other.
Yep, I'm with you. What a way to end that, of course. Jimmy Conrad, thank you so much, brother.
Thank you.
JJ, thank you.
Guys, always a pleasure.
Hey, everybody. I want to thank Jimmy Conrad and Jonathan Johnson for joining me today. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Qué Golazo Pod. Listen to us on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify, Stitcher, youtube.com/Qué Golazo. You can see this video and many, many more. I hope you keep enjoying the Champions League. Stay with CBS Sports. We have so much content to